So let's talk about Miami real estate. Is it a rocket ship heading straight for the moon, or is it a bubble that's just about to pop? Today, we're going to dig into the real numbers and figure out what's actually going on in one of the hottest and, let's be honest, most confusing markets in the entire country.
This really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because depending on who you talk to, Miami is either the investment of a lifetime or a total disaster just waiting to happen. The real story, as you're about to see, is actually somewhere in between, and it is all about the details. And right here, this is the heart of the debate. I mean, look at this. On one side, you've got a global financial giant, UBS, putting a massive red flag on Miami. Their bubble index calls it the #1 bubble risk in the world. But then you have the local experts, the Miami realtors, who are on the ground every day. And they're saying, no, 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 this isn't a bubble. This is built on a rock-solid foundation. So how can you have two credible sources with completely opposite takes? Well, let's unpack it.
Okay, first, let's look at the bubble argument. There's definitely some evidence that things are slowing down. We're starting to see some real cracks in the foundation. And honestly, the numbers are pretty tough to ignore. A 33% drop. Just let that sink in for a second. In only 9 months, the average price of a condo deal fell by a third. Now, that is not a tiny little correction, folks. That is a massive shift. It tells you that either sellers are getting desperate and slashing prices, or a lot more cheaper units are selling than expensive ones. Either way you slice it, it is a huge warning sign for the condo market.
And you can feel the slowdown in just how long it takes to sell a place. Realtor.com data shows that last year, a typical home in Miami sold in about 40 days. Fast forward to this September, and that number's jumped all the way up to 56 days. We're talking more than 2 extra weeks just sitting and waiting. That tells you buyers just aren't in the same frantic rush they were before.
And it's not just a Miami thing either. If you look across the entire South, more than 1 out of every 5 homes for sale had a price cut last month. And get this, the total number of homes for sale is now actually higher than it was before the pandemic craziness started. There's even a new analysis flagging 24 different markets right here in Florida that might see prices drop in the next year or so. So yeah, the case for a cooldown is looking pretty strong.
But hold on. Just when you think you've got the story figured out, the other side chimes in. The local experts are adamant that this is not 2008 all over again, and they've got the data to prove it. So let's look at the case for Miami's fundamental strength. So what's really propping this market up? Well, it comes down to a few really key things. First, job growth here is crushing the national average, especially in those high-paying tech and finance jobs. Then there's the cash. A staggering 41% of all deals are being paid for in all cash. That makes the market way less sensitive to interest rates. Foreign money is still pouring in, and now we're seeing a lot of new interest from Asia. But maybe the most important piece of the puzzle is this. Unlike the last crash, the banks are being super strict. The average homebuyer has a FICO score of 770, which is fantastic credit. This market just isn't built on a house of cards made of risky loans. And we have to talk about the luxury market, because it has absolutely exploded. Before the pandemic, homes over $1 million were, a pretty small slice of the pie, about 8% of all sales. Today, they make up nearly a quarter of the entire market. That's not just prices going up. That is a huge wave of real wealth that has completely changed the city. So, how can both of these stories possibly be true? How can the market be slowing down and be fundamentally strong at the exact same time? Well, the answer is pretty simple, actually. We're not talking about one single Miami market. We're talking about several different markets all living side by side and all behaving in completely different ways. Just look at the split here. The condo market, that's where you see the weakness. It's struggling. In places like Palm Beach, there's a lot of supply and the median price is lower. But then you look over at the single-family home market, and it's a totally different story. It's actually rebounding, prices are much higher, and this is the critical part, there's a massive shortage of homes, especially for first-time buyers. These are two completely different worlds. And if you want to understand just how extreme the high end is, you just have to look at Fisher Island. The new median sale price there is $9.5 million. That's up 65% in just 1 year. It's now officially the most expensive zip code in the entire United States, knocking a place in California off the top spot. It's just a crazy symbol of the kind of global money that's flowing into South Florida. Now, here's the other side of that coin. While people are dropping millions on Fisher Island, you can go to a classic, middle-class suburb like Miami Springs, and right now, there is not a single home, not one, for sale under $600,000. This is what that extreme housing shortage looks like for regular families, and it's what keeps pushing prices up for them.
So what have we got? A condo market that's slowing down, an ultra-luxury market that's on fire, and a crippling shortage of entry-level homes. What on earth does this all mean for you? Let's try to turn this complicated mess into some clear, simple advice. All right, for all you buyers out there, listen up. There is a little window of opportunity right now. Since properties are sitting on the market longer, especially condos, you've got more power to negotiate. But I wouldn't wait forever. Come winter, the snowbirds arrive and competition will heat back up. And finally, you gotta be realistic. If you're looking for that starter single-family home, just be prepared for a fight. And for the sellers, the game has totally changed. You have to price your home correctly right from the start. Being too ambitious on price is the kiss of death in this market. And with more homes for sale, buyers have more choices, so you need to shout from the rooftops about what makes your place special. And last but not least, be patient. The days of getting 10 offers in a weekend are pretty much over.
So the takeaway here is that the market isn't falling off a cliff. A better word for it is balancing. It's just finding its equilibrium after a few years of pure insanity. It's more complicated, for sure, and it takes a lot more strategy than it did a couple of years ago.
And all of this leaves us with one final big question. In a market with such wild extremes, where does the real value actually lie? The answer is going to be different for every single person. But one thing is absolutely for sure. Understanding that these different worlds exist at the same time, well, that's the key to navigating the new reality of Miami real estate.